The legacy of Chinggis Khan influenced Asia for centuries, inspiring minor Khans to become great conquerors, but none made a stronger claim to the great Khan's mantle than Timur. This video will detail the beginning of the life of a man who professed to be restoring the Mongol Empire, but washed away its remnants in a sea of blood. Welcome to our video on the rise of Timur and his war against Toqtamish. Thanks to Magellan TV for sponsoring this video. A lot of you already know Magellan TV or even have signed up to it, but if you don't, we will have you know that Magellan TV is a new type of documentary streaming membership which has the richest and most varied history content available anywhere. Ancient, modern, current, early modern, war, biography, and even non-historical genres like science and crime. Magellan TV will give you insight and knowledge about the topics you're passionate about. We recommend the documentary called Timur, Mongol Messenger, which was crucial in researching this documentary, as it explained various aspects of Mongol culture, religion, military organization, and much more. We also think that another Magellan TV documentary called The Tomb of Genghis Khan is a must-watch. It sheds light on one of the most fascinating archaeological mysteries. You can stream Magellan from anywhere on any device without any ads and no limited access. New programs are added on a weekly basis, and many of them are available in 4K. If you haven't signed up to Magellan yet, support our channel and do that at magellantv.com/kingsandgenerals. You will get a free 1-month membership trial. Thanks to Magellan for supporting our channel. Timur was born into the Turkified Mongol tribe of the Barlas around 1335 near Samarkand, coinciding with the deaths of Ilkhan Abu Sa'id and the Chagatai Khan Tamashirin, leaving both states in anarchy. The Ilkhanate dissolved into regional powers and puppet khans, while the Chagatai Khanate divided into two regions, the largely nomadic, non-Muslim Mongolistan in the east, where a Chagatai Khan continued to rule, and the mostly sedentary Islamic Transoxania in the west. A Chagatai prince ruled in Transoxania until the usurpation of Kazagan in 1347, a non-Chinggisid of the Neguderi tribe. After Kazagan's murder in 1358, and the expulsion of his son by local emirs, the Chagatai Khan, Tughluq Timur, saw this as a prime time to invade and appoint his son Ilyas as governor. During these attacks, the chief of the Barlas fled before Chagatai armies, and Timur, around 25 years old, convinced Tughluq Timur to appoint him as the new chief. Thus began Timur's rise to power. Raised with a foot in sedentary Perso-Islamic culture and the nomadic Turco-Mongolian world, Timur had the hardiness of a nomadic warrior, but with an eye for Persian culture, allowing him to manipulate both. The Chagatai reoccupation of Transoxania lasted only briefly. With Tughluq Timur's death in 1363, Timur joined Kazagan's grandson, Amir Hussein, to push them back into Mongolistan. During this fighting in the early 1360s, Timur and Hussein's fortunes ebbed and flowed, forcing them at times to be little more than raiders stealing for supplies. While stealing a sheep, Timur was struck by arrows in his right arm and leg, leaving him with permanent injuries and a significant limp. Thus he was called Timur Ilang, Timur the Lame, and hence Tamerlane. By 1365, Timur and Hussein drove Ilyas and the Chagatais from Transoxania. Amir Hussein restored the territory of his grandfather, but soon alienated the local lords through his own actions, such as moving his capital to Balkh outside Transoxania. The ever-ambitious and charismatic Timur riled up the Amirs, led a rebellion and ousted him, leaving Timur master of Transoxania by 1370. As he was not a descendant of Chinggis, Timur could not take the title of Khan, so to legitimize his rule, he appointed his own Chagatai Khan, Soyogatmish, a descendant of Ogadai. He married a Chinggisid princess, allowing him to claim the title of Gurigan, son-in-law to the house of Chinggis. Despite often living like a nomad, Timur made Samarkand his capital, and many captured scholars, artisans and craftsmen were sent here over the following decades. His position was consolidated over the 1370s against local emirs, campaigning against the Kunkarat Sufi dynasty of Khwarezm and the new Khan of Mogolistan, Kamar al-Din Duglat. In this time he also took in a fugitive from the White Horde, Toqtamish, providing him shelter and support to seize the region by 1378. From that base, Toqtamish competed for control of the entire Golden Horde, bringing him into conflict with Mamai. The year after, Timur took it upon himself to take Khwarezm, raising a Gench and conducting a massacre, an escalation of violence from his earlier campaigns. The core of Timur's armies throughout his career were the tribes of the Chagatai Khanate, skilled horse archers and cavalry, supplemented by subject peoples. Over time he replaced tribal leaders with his family and followers. Keeping his army almost constantly on campaign made it difficult for his generals to develop alternative power bases or conspire against him. The key to Timurid military success was Timur himself. Not just a phenomenal tactician, Timur thoroughly prepared for each campaign and gathered all possible intelligence on the weakness of his enemies. He led every campaign, rarely delegating power, keeping his troops loyal through the rich plunder and provinces loyal through fear. With a puppet Chagatai Khan and the next Khan of the Golden Horde his protege, in 1381 Timur cast his eyes to the remnants of the Ilkhanate. Closest to Timur's borders were smaller powers in Khorasan and northeastern Iran, which Timur turned into protectorates. It was not until 1384 that Timur prepared a proper invasion into Iran, pushing through Mazandaran. He allowed a local Chinggisid prince to retain the Ilkhan's imperial title of Padishah, granting Timur 2 puppet Khans. Timur took 2 former Ilkhanate capitals, Sultaniya and Tabriz, the latter ruled by another Ilkhanate successor, the Jalurids under Sultan Ahmad, who fled before him. Returning to Samarkand in 1385, he immediately began his preparations for his next campaign. In the 3-year campaign, beginning in 1386, Timur drove deep into the west, forcing Sultan Ahmad to flee modern Azerbaijan again, then invading Georgia, sacking Tbilisi, and capturing the Georgian king and queen who were forced to convert to Islam. The following year he attacked another Ilkhanid successor, the Muzaffarids, and took Isfahan. Timur had perhaps been unaware that Toqtamish, now Khan of the Golden Horde, had in 1385 established a treaty of friendship with Ahmad Jaliyir. Toqtamish considered the Caucasus and Khwarezm to be Jochid territory, and both were now under Timur's thumb. After Timurid forces withdrew from Azerbaijan, Toqtamish attacked in late 1386, taking Baku, Tabriz, and Nakhchivan. In 1387, he swung around the Caspian Sea again and took Tashkent and Kashi before besieging Bukhara and Timur's capital of Samarkand. Once Toqtamish withdrew, Timur retook Khwarezm, sacking Urgench with a massacre to invoke those of Chinggis Khan. Immediate reprisals against Toqtamish were halted by rebellions in Khorasan and a retaliatory campaign in Mogolistan against Kamar al-Din, who had allied with Toqtamish. Once dealt with, Timur began extensive preparations for an invasion of the Golden Horde, spending months assembling a large army and supplies, and set out unexpectedly early in January 1391. Anticipating that Timur would cross the Ural River at Kirkkul, Toqtamish ordered his army to gather there, but before he could gather his full force, he learned that Timur had crossed further upriver. Toqtamish retreated lest he be outflanked, and his forces who arrived late were set upon by the Timurids. Toqtamish drew Timur deeper into the steppe to starve his large army. Parties sent out to forage were ambushed by Toqtamish's warriors, and the Khan tried to burn the grasslands before Timur's army, though the wet spring hampered this. Knowing his starving men would soon be at their limit, Timur sent Mirza Omar Sheikh with 20,000 swift riders to overtake Toqtamish and force him to battle, allowing the main force to catch up to the Khan. The ploy worked, and Toqtamish was forced to draw up at the Kondurcha River on June 18, 1391. The two massive armies arrayed themselves in large crescent formations. Both forces were largely horse archers, light and heavy cavalry, with Timur bringing infantry from his Central Asian cities and Toqtamish infantry from the horde's urban centres. Timur strengthened his wings with units staggered behind them to protect against encirclement, and commanded the rearguard behind the centre. The Golden Horde struck first, attacking across the entire front, Toqtamish himself leading repeated charges. However, some of Toqtamish's flank commanders retreated, either due to treachery or miscommunication. With the horde now stretched thin, Timur ordered a countercharge against Toqtamish's left and centre, which broke, and the rest retreated. Victory was achieved, but Toqtamish and much of his army had escaped. Deprived of a total victory, Timur declared a new Khan of the Golden Horde, Timur Kutluk, then returned to his realm, plundering as he went. In August 1392, Timur set out on his 5-year campaign to seize the rest of Iran. He destroyed the Muzaffarids, taking Luristan, Shiraz and Isfahan, and brought his border to Persian Iraq. In August 1393, Timur set out suddenly and surprised Sultan Ahmad Jalir in Baghdad. Ahmad only narrowly escaped, fleeing to the Mamluk Sultanate, and Baghdad was occupied without a struggle. Timur stayed in the city only 2 months before withdrawing, leaving a small garrison in Baghdad, which Ahmad expelled the next year. In 1394, Timur was in the Caucasus, devastating Georgia and wintering near the border with the Golden Horde. By then, Toqtamish had regained his strength and tried to organize an anti-Timur alliance, contacting the Ottomans, the Mamluks, the Karakayunlu, and the Jalirids. Timur could not allow such a coalition to form. Watching Timur's movement, Toqtamish placed his own army north of the Caucasus. The two sent envoys to one another in a final diplomatic effort to no avail. Timur marched into the steppe in the first months of 1395. This time he caught Toqtamish along the Terek River in April. The Golden Horde controlled the north bank of the closest ford. Unwilling to storm it, Timur marched upstream, with Toqtamish mirroring him for 3 days. On the third night, the women and servants in Timur's camp donned armor and continued on, while the main force swiftly doubled back in the darkness and crossed the now unguarded ford. It didn't take Toqtamish long to discover the ruse, but it was too late. Timur's army deployed on their side late on April 14th. Anticipating a night attack, Timur ordered a moat dug around his camp. Toqtamish's forces skirmished along the edges of the moat, playing instruments and shouting, keeping Timur's army up with expectations of an assault. But Toqtamish held the main army back, resting them. On the morning of the 15th, they formed up. Again, they brought massive armies, and Timur increased the size of his rearguard in expectations of encirclement. Toqtamish opened the battle, his right falling upon Timur's left rearguard. Timur ordered the left wing to assist, and the Golden Horde's right retreated. Eager to press the assault, Timur's left pursued, leaving the security of the main army, and were drawn into a feigned retreat. Surrounded, the Timurid left was decimated. Battle order was lost. Timur retreated to the fortified camp with Toqtamish's troops in hot pursuit, and they nearly captured the emir. With Timur himself now under threat, his commanders acted promptly, forcing wagons together in an impromptu stockade. They held off the horde long enough for the remainder of the army to form back up, and by evening they had counterattacked and forced the Jochids back, until nightfall separated them. So ended the first day of battle. Discipline and composure were re-established that night, and the armies drew up early on the 16th. Toqtamish's army again began the battle, his left flank forcing back Timur's vanguard, and soon Timur's right was nearly overcome as well. One commander ordered large shields forced into the ground, and from behind this barricade, Timur's archers dismounted and shot at the approaching Tartars, halting their advance. Timur reinforced them with several units from his bodyguard, repulsing the Jochids under this volley of arrows. The second day ended much better than the first for Timur, but the old Amir knew Toqtamish had him matched. That evening, he made overtures to a discontented Amir in Toqtamish's camp, Aktau, promising him rewards for promoting intrigue. By morning, Aktau had abandoned the battlefield. Toqtamish was disheartened but determined, and formed up again, his left wing weaker with Aktau's absence. Toqtamish's centre and flanks all attacked Timur, but Timur had built up his forces on the right, and broke through the weakened Jochid left. Hard fighting continued until evening, with Toqtamish valiantly trying to save the left and prevent encirclement, but Timur had the better of the day. Defeated, Toqtamish had an orderly retreat planned, sending one commander to the Caucasus in an effort to harass Timur's rear. This gave Toqtamish enough time to escape, while Timur crushed this army. However, Toqtamish could not rally another army, leaving his cities isolated before the might of Timur. All the economic centres of the Golden Horde, from Haji Tarkan, Sarai, Tanar and more, were flattened by Timur over the course of 1395, and he carried their wealth back to Samarkand. Moscow and the Russian cities avoided Timur's wrath, but Timur completed the destruction of the overland trade routes begun in the 1330s. Timur placed Timur Kutluk back on the throne, with his general Edigu as the power behind him, instructed to ensure Toqtamish, who had fled to Lithuania, could never regain power. Timur's career though was just starting, and in the next video we will cover his destructive war against the Delhi Sultanate, so make sure you are subscribed to our channel and have pressed the bell button. We would like to express our gratitude to our Patreon supporters and channel members who make the creation of our videos possible. Now you can also support us by buying our merchandise via the link in the description. This is the Kings and Generals channel, and we will catch you on the next one.